Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back here with part 3 of my mad idea microing, as many of my ideas are. Hope you enjoy it, and please check out part 1 and 2 if you haven't already done so. I'd love to hear what you think and any ideas or any general thoughts you have, just generally what you think. Anyway, I'll try not to waffle, as I often say, so please forgive me if I do waffle. But again, I'd love to hear what you think about each of my ideas or points that I raise, or any ideas you have. For instance, what you think are the best ways to help Indigenous Africans and or Australasians or any other disadvantaged group in tech, and what groups you think should be supported, and how you think the tech industry can work together. Legally, obviously, the tech industry, when it is so big and huge that even that they couldn't actually work together with the anti-monopolization rules. But I wonder if investing in Africa and in Indigenous Africans and Australasians, they could be given tax exemptions, or the taxes they do pay could go towards training more Indigenous Africans and Australasians, in which case the tech industries themselves will benefit, like the big tech giants, Microsoft and companies like that, hopefully, and I.B.M, Apple and others will also benefit, as well as and Oracle and whatever, will also benefit, as well as the Indigenous Africans and Australasians. And African nations, I think, are in a better position than they think if they use their position to ask for countries that, or companies even, that want to invest in Africa to train up some of their younger people in return for trade and resources and whatnot, trading rights and access to markets and resources and whatever. At least they'll get something in return. I know I've mentioned that a while back in some of my videos, but obviously to repeat some of the point, in case people forget, or in case people didn't hear those points, or even to remind myself. Anywho, cracking on, here goes. So number 21, I hope to remember some of my older ideas, or all of my older ideas I've had for this network, for this network, if you like, or family of tech, or whatever. How I started off the idea as an idea, maybe a naive idea, but an idea nonetheless, for which I hoped to make money for myself and my family, and then give some of that to charity. But now I hope to give most of it to charity, or even do it just for charity, and not make any money myself, but just have the pride of helping others. But yeah, I hope to remember my older ideas and look at the past, and what can be learned from the past, and how technology has evolved, and how it used to be, like from where one computer would take a whole room just to fit one computer, apparently, to how it is now, and what we take for granted, and how it's advanced and things like that. So yeah, I hope to remember my older ideas as well, as I say, and look at again how technology used to be and things like that. Number 22, I'd love to write books in the future about ideas I've had in my imagination, my stories, including obviously for tech and microing and things like that, and how the idea came about, if I can remember as much as I can remember as possible, and things like that, and also look at what the future could hold for tech, and helping Indigenous Africans and Australasians to be technologists and futurists and whatnot, working together, again, getting mentorship and training and teaching and being taught lessons from all around the world, for anyone who wants to help Indigenous Africans and Australasians, any NGOs, charities, and just general organisations, politicians, governments, or whatnot, or basically anyone, let's say any organisation or whatever, that wants to help Indigenous Africans and Australasians in STEM, in this case specifically technology, and how big tech could help Africa, like things like I.B.M for Africa, and things like that. Due to the patterns I love, like I.B.M for Africa, with 4 being the 4th in the sentence. Sorry for my strange quirky patterns, but I hope some people out there, as they find it interesting. And again, maybe people with dyslexia or ADHD or Asperger's or any other such conditions that are good at tech could mentor their fellow neurodiverse people, or learning disabled or special needs, or whatever you want to call us, in tech. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at tech, which, as I mentioned, I think in part 2 or possibly part 1 or possibly both, I think it'd be quite ironic. I love the irony of coming up with this idea, and if it could develop, being someone who's really rubbish at tech, developing something that hopefully will change the world, all being well, for the better. On that note, number 23, I'd love to look into ways to fundraise. I briefly touched on it before, like through music, art, sports, and things like that. Maybe there could be special concerts or entrepreneurs, especially black entrepreneurs or people of color, or again allies for Africa, or whoever basically wants to, could donate, but also like look at fundraising ways like GoFundMe, crowdfundme, through YouTube, through Facebook, and all sorts of different ways, whatever ways possible to fundraise, or possible ways to fundraise, again through things like music, art, and sports, and learning lessons in the past about how to fundraise. And like, I think I forgot to mention like point number 4, and possibly because of my patterns and all that, tech for good could have been said in point number 18. But yeah, tech for good could be looking at how technology can be used to make things better, like giving people opportunities, people from disadvantaged backgrounds, opportunities to be empowered through tech, like to learn about tech and things like that, learn how to get careers in tech and to feel better about themselves and have opportunities generally, I'd say, especially in careers. And hopefully that will build their self-esteem, help them to feed their families, and it would also tackle poverty and things like that. But I'd say my main focus would be on Indigenous Africans and Australasians, and to a lesser extent, like people from Ireland, as Ireland was also colonised, and also like disabled people, people with mental, physical, anthropic or learning disabilities, special needs or whatever, and basically disadvantaged people generally, but especially in my case, I say I would love to support Indigenous Africans and Australasians, and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'd love to look at ways to fundraise, and again, how this would tackle poverty, how tech, and as it's such a key skill, I think helping Indigenous Africans and Australasians in tech could be really key for the tackling poverty and helping them to be empowered in the future. I'm not sure why I'm sweating so much. It's quite late at night. It's like 1 a.m. here now, but I did just have a shower, so I don't know if that's making me sweat. But anyway, moving on. With my bald patch, you can probably see my sweat even more. Someone told me I look like Pep Guardiola, but anyway, moving. If you don't know who that is, you can Google it. But moving on, number 24. Again, I think this would be great to unite together people from Africa, all 54 or 55 countries across Africa, and also like building partnership between Asia and Africa, where Asian nations could teach Africans and train them up in tech, and help them to advance. Like countries like South Korea could teach people from South Africa and other parts of Africa in tech, especially South Africa, and yeah, there could be great partnerships like that. And countries like India and China could teach African countries about tech. And also, I said before, like there could be the AIT, African Institute of Tech, that would stand for, which could be sort of connected to this, or as well as, like I say, any organization or institution or whatever that wants to support Indigenous Africans and Australasians. NGOs could also write to tech companies and try and get them involved. And again, there could be like tax deals, incentives, and things like that. But again, African countries, their politicians, their governments, and different tribal leaders and all sorts could come together, like uniting all possible 1 billion or so people from across Africa, which is apparently the youngest continent as well, uniting them together. And again, friends of Africa, and how, and again, in return for trade deals and increased access to markets and all sorts of things like that, people who want to access those things, African countries could say, you've got to train X amount of our people in tech and things like that. And but also the black diaspora and people of color could unite together to help Indigenous Africans and Australians in tech and STEM generally. Moving on, number 25, I'd love to support institutions, as I say, or organizations like the African Institute of Tech, and help it to expand somehow, and again, fundraise for it, and help like the next Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or Larry Ellison or Mark Zuckerberg or whatever could be a person, someone from Africa, even a woman from Africa, or someone with a disability from Africa or whatever. But or even many people from Africa who they could be like the next tech titans. Hopefully, would come from Africa, especially women, and hopefully empowering young people. But even just as many of the billion or so people across Africa as possible, giving as many of them as possible access to electricity, faster internet access, and even faster internet access, and again, tech training, PCs, laptops, mobile phones, and things like that. Again, I'd love to fundraise for all those sorts of things, and maybe republics around the world could help African countries as well. Number 26, this could be a form of reparations. Again, like as a form of reparations, people often talk about reparations. Some people say that countries from the West couldn't afford reparations, but I think this is one way countries from the West could help with reparations. they could invest in, like I say, all of the money collected from tech companies, all the tax money could go to towards Indigenous Africans and Australasians as a form of reparations. So all the money, basically all the money that my dream would be, or one of my many dreams, you can probably tell my channel have so many, would be that as a form of reparations, all of the tax money collected from tech companies around the world would go towards helping Indigenous Africans and Australasians, which would be good for the tech company leaders like Satya Nadella or people like that, Sunday Pichai, or how to pronounce his name, who's the CEO of Google and Microsoft respectively, and I.B.M. and Oracle and Apple and companies like that. Their CEOs and their shareholders could also benefit, but at the same time, Africans would benefit. Number 27, on that note, it'd be great to have a list of heroes, of supporters of this initiative to help Indigenous Africans and Australasians in tech, and also the main beneficiaries or benefactors or benefiters or whatever word you want to use. I think the more professional word would be beneficiaries, but I'd probably call them benefiters. Would be as well as Indigenous Africans and Australasians and the Black community around the world, Black people in tech, especially as I say Africans and Australasians, would be the tech titans like say CEO of Microsoft or the shareholders of Microsoft, maybe even Mr. Bill Gates himself, Steve Ballmer, Satya Nadella, Larry Ellison of Oracle, and people like that. They would probably be amongst the biggest beneficiaries as well, but it would also benefit both. So I know anti-capitalists might be against the idea of benefiting those people, but I think it would still be very important to tackle poverty, and so it's like a mutual benefit. It also gives an incentive for those to support such an initiative, knowing that their taxes will be going back to helping their businesses grow, so they get something back in return, but also help other people at the same time. Number 28, I hope this, as I say, will turn the negatives into positives, solve problems, change stereotypes about Africa being backwards or things like that, or Indigenous Africans and Australasians, like all the negative stereotypes about them, or negative stereotypes people have about Black people, or that they can't do well in tech, or they can only do well in certain areas like sports or music or whatever. This will show that they can do well in tech and they can work together, and they can achieve a great deal of things. They are hardworking, educatable, or whatever the word is. I hope it will show that, as I say, in the future, and again turn negatives into positives, make the world a better place as much as possible, especially for Indigenous Africans and Australasians, but for the world generally. Again, as I mentioned before, like countries like Nigeria especially, which have a negative perception, and Somalia, even countries like that, which have a negative perception of them about them being crooks or scam artists, or all these negative thoughts that people have about them or say about them. Hopefully this will be turned on its head, as I said before, and they can work together to change those stereotypes and change the perception of Africa, as many people are trying to do, like Wode Maya and people like that. Number 29, I would love to hear like my fellow dyslexics or people that with dyspraxia or other neurodiverse conditions saying they're proud that a dyslexic person came up with these ideas. So I hope they're better than I think, that they will exceed my own expectations. Maybe I'm just being naive and foolish, but at least I gave it a go. I think I would regret not giving it a go more than perhaps looking foolish, because I should be used to looking foolish by now. But at number 30, again, I hope to develop the idea, or the ideas even, and discuss my dreams even more in the future, and look at how the idea can grow, especially for the rest of August and October, even October as well, and into next year as well. And I am out. Peace and love.